Okay, so I'm going to make some pretzels today. So what you need, you can use a combination of white flour and brown flour, but I'm just going to use some white flour. So you'd need 600 grams of strong white flour. You'll need 1 level teaspoon of fast acting yeast. You need 2 tablespoons full of light soft brown sugar. You need 1 teaspoon of salt. You also need 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. You need 375 ml of water, warm water. And for the actual, because once you've actually let the pretzels rise, you may want to you have to dip it in some baking soda solution. So for that you would need 75 grams of bicarbonate of soda or baking soda and 1 liter of water. And sometimes you may want to sprinkle some sesame seeds over the pretzels, so that's optional. So I've got some sesame seeds here that I may try later. So in here I've got 600 grams of flour. If you're to use brown flour, you need 150 grams of brown flour, and then you need about 450 grams of the white flour. But in total you need 600 grams of flour. I've also got 1 level teaspoon of the fast acting yeast. I've got 2 tablespoons of soft light brown sugar, and I've got a teaspoon of salt. So what we have to do next is to sift it into a bowl. So I'm going to sieve it. By sieving it, it makes it much lighter. Okay, so I've sifted the dry ingredients together. You can use actual blender, cake mixer with the kneading hooks, or you can use your hands to mix the rest. I'm going to use the hands because I've not got the kneading hooks. In this cup, I have mixed the 375 ml of warm water with 1 tablespoonful of oil. So I'm going to slowly pour it into this mixture and continue to mix it together until it forms a dough that is not too dry, not too sticky. This dough is a little bit too sticky, so what I'm going to do is just add a bit more flour to it. So the key to making the dough, if it's too dry, then obviously you add more water to it. If it's too sticky, you add some more flour to it until you get the perfect dough. Okay, so this dough is perfect. It's not too sticky and it's not too wet. So now you need to knead the dough for at least 10 minutes. Just make sure that the yeast starts to activate and everything is mixing together. So dough's been kneaded. I've kneaded the dough for around 10 minutes. And the way you know that it's ready is when you press it, it should spring back. You see? You press it and then it springs back. So what you do next is, I've greased the bowl with just a bit of the vegetable oil. And you just place the dough in the bowl and just allow all the sides to be greased. This is so that when it starts to rise, it will not stick to the side of the bowl. Okay, so I've oiled the dough and I'm now covering it with the cling film or saran wrap, and you just leave this in the warm place for between 1 to 3 hours, or until the dough has doubled in size. Okay, so dough has risen to twice its size. I had to actually change the container because it was really rising fast. So what you do next is put some greaseproof paper, baking sheet on a baking tray. So I've lined that. Lightly flour the work surface and knead the dough further. once you've kneaded the dough, divide it into sections, into small balls, maybe like 10 balls or 14 balls. Okay, so those are I've got them into the balls. Get them to be roughly the same size and weight. And then now it's time to roll out the pretzel shape. So take one ball, and whilst you're rolling it out, cover the rest with a clean cloth so that it just prevents them from rising further. So I've rolled it out, just roughly no thicker than a pencil. If it's thicker, it doesn't really matter. And then now it's time to shape the pretzel. So what you do is you make this crisscross shape, then twist that again, and then dip them in like that. And that's a rough pretzel shape. So repeat it with the other rolls. So I've rolled up the pretzels in a pretzel shape. I know they're not the most attractive looking pretzels, but you know, practice makes perfect. These ones here, what I did was, whilst I formed the balls, I actually put some raisins inside. So I think that would taste quite nice. So what you have to do now is cover the tray with clean napkin, and leave it for another 10 to 14 minutes. So it's been roughly 10 minutes now, so the dough has risen. What I forgot to say is that to seal the underside, you just need to dab it. You know, when you're twisting it over, you just dab it with some water to seal it. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating the bicarbonate of soda solution. And what this does is going to give the pretzels that dark color. So what I have in here is I have 1 liter of water, which I have brought to the boil, and I'm going to add 75 grams of baking soda or bicarbonate of soda, and just let this simmer. So what you do next is you put the pretzel into that bicarbonate of soda mixture and leave it there for 30 seconds on each side, just so it to be coated. So it's in there. It's going to be around 30 seconds, and then all you do is just flip it over, let the other side be coated as well, and repeat this process for the remaining pretzels. Okay, so these ones have just come out of that mixture, so I'm just going to rest it on a paper towel, and then drain it, then return it back to the baking sheet. Okay, so I've taken it out, and what I've done is I've sprinkled over some sesame seeds. So we're now going to put them in the oven for around 8 to 10 minutes. So flipping them in both, halfway through, just flip it over so that the other side gets coated as well. So that's the pretzels done. You can see that it's a nice brown color on the top, and then when I turned it over to the other side, the outer rim has got a nice glaze. Yeah. So that's the pretzels. If you want to, at this stage, while it's still warm, you can sprinkle over some, like an onion or garlic spread, just to coat it. You can also put on some, like a cinnamon, sprinkle some cinnamon over it, or you can sprinkle some salt. I haven't put any salt in it because a lot of us here, you have to be careful with the amount of salt you eat. But if you look at the back of that, that's the one that got raisins inside. So this is going to be really good. So I hope yours turns out good as well.